Millionaire was abandoned in the trash for being fat, but a garbage man saved her and loved her like no one else. Jennifer Miller woke up with a throbbing head and a bitter taste in her mouth, trying to understand why she smelled the strong stench of trash around her. Her blurry vision slowly adjusted, and horror gripped her chest when she realized she was lying among garbage bags on the sidewalk, her once pristine beige blazer now dirty and torn. That's when she heard the sound of the garbage truck approaching and saw a man in an orange uniform stop abruptly at the sight of her. Michael Johnson, a sanitation worker for 15 years in the upscale neighborhood of Beverly Hills in New York City, had never encountered a situation like this. An elegant woman, even dirty and bruised, was trying to get up amid the debris he was about to collect. "Help, please," Jennifer murmured, extending a trembling hand toward Michael, who hesitated for a moment, thinking it might be some kind of trap. "Ma'am, what are you doing here?" Michael asked, keeping a safe distance but unable to ignore the desperation in her eyes. Jennifer tried to stand, but her legs gave out. That's when Michael noticed the purple bruises on her arms and the look of pure terror on her face. Something very serious had happened to this woman. "My husband, he drugged me. I can't remember clearly," Jennifer managed to say between sobs, touching her forehead where she felt an intense pain. Michael looked around, seeing the closed windows of the mansions. It was 6 in the morning, and the neighborhood was still asleep. No one had seen or heard anything. This woman was completely alone and vulnerable. "You need a doctor. I'll call an ambulance," Michael said, already pulling out his phone. "No!" Jennifer screamed, grabbing his arm. "Please don't call anyone yet. He'll say I'm crazy, that I made it all up. He's done it before." Michael saw the genuine fear in her eyes, and something in his heart stirred. He had grown up in a family where violence was common. He knew that look of someone who had suffered at the hands of the person who should have protected them. "Then at least let me take you to the clinic. You're hurt," Michael offered, extending his hand to help her up. Jennifer accepted his help, leaning on him as she tried to process what had happened. The last thing she remembered was dinner the night before, when Richard, her husband of 12 years, had insisted she drink a special wine to celebrate a new beginning in their lives. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing, the nearest clinic was a few blocks away. Michael helped Jennifer walk slowly, noticing how she limped on her right leg and how her hands trembled uncontrollably. Along the way, she tried to explain fragments of what she remembered. "I run a cosmetics company. I'm 42. I've always been a strong, independent woman." Jennifer spoke haltingly, stopping frequently to catch her breath. "But Richard, my husband, in the last few months he completely changed toward me." "Changed how?" Michael asked, genuinely concerned. "He started humiliating me about my weight, said I'd become an embarrassment, that no one respected me in business because of my appearance," Jennifer explained, tears beginning to stream down her face. "I gained weight after I lost our baby 5 years ago. It was a very difficult pregnancy and..." Her voice broke, and Michael felt a tightness in his chest. He himself had experienced abandonment and knew how words could hurt more than any physical violence. When they arrived at the health clinic, the nurse on duty, Dorothy Wilson, a 55-year-old woman with decades of experience handling complicated cases, immediately noticed the signs that something serious had happened. "Good morning. What happened here?" Dorothy asked, helping Jennifer Miller sit in a chair. "She says she was drugged by her husband and woke up in the middle of the trash," Michael Johnson explained. "She's all bruised and a bit confused." Dorothy quickly examined Jennifer, noting her dilated pupils, slow reflexes, and bruises all over her body. Her experience told her this woman had indeed been drugged. "We'll run some blood tests to see what substance was used," Dorothy said, preparing the materials. "What's your full name and ID?" "Jennifer Miller, but..." Jennifer patted the pockets of her blazer and pants, horrified to realize everything was gone. "My purse, my phone, my documents. Everything's disappeared." "You don't have any ID with you?" Dorothy asked, raising her eyebrows. "I'm Jennifer Miller, owner of Natural Beauty Cosmetics. You can look up my name online. It's in all the business newspapers, Jennifer said, desperate to prove her identity. Dorothy and Michael exchanged skeptical glances. This woman, though clearly from a higher social class based on her clothes, was in too strange a situation to be who she claimed. Ma'am, I'll be honest with you. The Jennifer Miller in the papers is a very successful businesswoman, always put together and elegant. You're in a bit of a complicated situation to be her, Dorothy said gently. Jennifer felt her world collapse. How could she prove who she was without ID, without access to her accounts, without anything to identify her? Richard Thompson had planned everything perfectly. Please, just run the blood tests. When the results come back, you'll see I'm telling the truth about being drugged, Jennifer pleaded. Michael, who had been silently observing the situation, finally spoke up. Miss Dorothy, I believe her. I saw where she was when I found her. I saw the state she was in. No one fakes something like this, Michael said, surprising himself by taking the side of a complete stranger. Dorothy agreed to run the tests and asked Michael to wait in reception while she attended to Jennifer. During the more detailed examination, she discovered not only evidence of sedatives in Jennifer's system, but also signs that she had been physically and psychologically abused for a long time. Sweetheart, you weren't just hurt yesterday. These bruises are from different times. Someone's been hurting you for a while, Dorothy said softly, holding Jennifer's hand. Jennifer broke down into uncontrollable sobs. It was the first time in months someone had treated her kindly and believed her. Richard had been so convincing in making everyone believe she was losing her mind due to her weight and depression. He said no one would believe me because I was going crazy, that my obesity was affecting my brain and my behavior. He even took me to doctors who confirmed it, Jennifer said between sobs. What doctors were these? Dorothy asked, alarmed. Dr. Gregory Phillips, his private psychiatrist, and Dr. Bethany Nelson, an endocrinologist. They always said my memory problems and mood swings were because of my severe weight issues. Dorothy wrote down the names. Something didn't sit right with her. In all her years of experience, she had never seen obesity cause the symptoms those doctors supposedly diagnosed. When Michael was called back in, Dorothy had finished the examination, and the preliminary results confirmed the presence of high doses of benzodiazepines in Jennifer's blood. The tests confirmed she was drugged with a very high dose of sedatives. That explains the mental confusion and memory loss from the last few hours, Dorothy explained to Michael. She needs a safe place to stay until she fully recovers. Jennifer looked at Michael with pleading eyes. She had nowhere to go, no way to prove who she was, and was afraid Richard would find her if she sought help through official channels. Sir, I know you don't know me, and this will sound strange, but I have nowhere to go. If you could just help me for today, until I can contact someone, Jennifer begged, her voice heavy with humiliation at having to ask a stranger for help. Michael thought of his 17-year-old daughter Emily, who lived with him in a modest home in the Bronx. How would he explain bringing a strange woman home? But something about this situation moved him deeply. Maybe it was because he too had been judged and rejected for his social standing. All right, you can stay on my couch for tonight, but I'll be honest, I don't have much to offer. My home is very simple and it's just me and my daughter, Michael said, surprising himself with his own decision. The trip to Michael's home in the Bronx took nearly 2 hours on public transit. Jennifer, who was used to traveling only by car or private driver, had her first real experience with working-class life in New York City. During the ride, Michael shared a little about his life. I've worked as a garbage man for 15 years. My wife left me when Emily was 2 because she was ashamed of my job. Said she couldn't introduce a garbage man to her family, Michael shared as they waited for the bus. Since then, it's just been me and my girl. Jennifer felt an immediate connection to his pain. Both of them had been abandoned by people who should have loved them, rejected for not fitting society's expectations. I'm so sorry. It must have been very hard raising a daughter alone, Jennifer said sincerely. Emily is everything to me. She's in her last year of high school, wants to study business administration. I work 2 shifts to afford a prep course for her, Michael said, pride in his voice. When they arrived at Michael's home, a small two-bedroom house on a narrow street, Emily was getting ready to leave for school. She was a sharp, observant teenager with the same kind eyes as her father. "Dad, who is this?" Emily asked, puzzled by the presence of a woman clearly from a different social class in their home. "Emily, this is Mrs. Jennifer. She's been through something serious and is staying here just to recover," Michael explained, keeping the details vague. Emily noticed Jennifer's disheveled clothes, the visible bruises, and the look of someone who had endured trauma. Her teenage intuition told her there was something much deeper going on. "It's fine, Dad. Mrs. Jennifer, if you need anything, just ask. I have to go to school now, but I'll be back this afternoon," Emily said politely, grabbing her backpack. After Emily left, Michael showed Jennifer the couch where she could rest and offered some clean clothes left behind by his ex-wife. Jennifer accepted gratefully, still unable to believe the kindness of this man who didn't even know her. "Why are you helping me?" Jennifer asked as Michael brewed a simple coffee in the small kitchen. "Because I've been in the place of someone who needed help and didn't get it. Because I know what it's like to be judged before people know your story," Michael answered, pouring coffee into a plain mug. "And because I saw in your eyes that you're a good person going through something terrible." Jennifer Miller drank her coffee, and for the first time in months, she felt safe. The house was simple, but there was something comforting in the way Michael Johnson treated her. No judgments, no invasive questions, just offering what he could. That morning, while Michael left to finish his work shift, Jennifer tried to fully grasp what Richard Thompson had done. Her memories were growing clearer as the effects of the drugs wore off. She now remembered Richard insisting she drink the wine, how nervous he'd seemed during dinner, how he'd mentioned she would finally get the rest she deserved. At the time, Jennifer had taken it as affection, but now she realized they were words of farewell. When she tried using Michael's landline to call her company, she discovered all her contacts had been changed. The number she knew by heart for Natural Beauty Cosmetics now reached a pizza place. Her work phone was answered by a secretary she didn't recognize. "Hello, I'd like to speak with Jennifer Miller," Jennifer said, trying to stay calm. "Who may I say is calling?" "Mrs. Miller isn't taking calls. She's undergoing medical treatment and all company decisions are being handled by Mr. Richard Thompson, her legal proxy," the unfamiliar voice replied. Jennifer hung up in shock. Richard had gotten legal authority over her assets. How was that possible? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers. Now, back to the story. When Michael returned from work late that morning, he found Jennifer pacing back and forth in the small living room, clearly distraught. "Did you reach anyone?" Michael asked, noticing her agitation. "It's worse than I thought. Richard didn't just drug me and abandon me. He somehow got legal control over my company and assets. When I called my own office, a stranger told me I'm in medical treatment," Jennifer explained, tears welling in her eyes again. Michael sat beside her on the couch, sensing the gravity of the situation. This wasn't just domestic violence. It was an elaborate plan to completely destroy this woman's life. "Is there any family or friend who could help?" Michael asked. "My parents passed years ago. I don't have siblings. And my friends, they're all part of Richard's social circle. If he convinced doctors I'm mentally unfit, imagine what he must have told them," Jennifer said, the reality of her isolation sinking in. "What about lawyers? You must know a good one," Michael suggested. "My trusted lawyer, Daniel Morrison, is at a convention in Europe. He won't be back for 3 weeks. Every other lawyer I know is either close to Richard or depends on his business in some way." Michael realized Jennifer was completely isolated and vulnerable. Richard had planned the perfect moment to execute his scheme, choosing a time when she'd have no access to her usual support. That afternoon, Emily came home from school and found Jennifer helping Michael prepare lunch with the few ingredients they had. The teenager was surprised to see how the elegant woman adapted to their simple kitchen. "Mrs. Miller, you know how to cook?" Emily asked, curious. "I learned when I was young, before I married. After I got rich, I stopped, but I never forgot," Jennifer replied, smiling genuinely for the first time since waking up in the trash. Emily noticed how the smile transformed Jennifer's face, lifting some of the sadness and revealing a woman who had once been truly happy. During lunch, Emily asked smart questions about Jennifer's situation, showing impressive maturity for her 17 years. "Ms. Jennifer, if you're really a businesswoman, you must have documents stored somewhere, right? Someplace only you know about," Emily asked. Jennifer stopped eating, thinking about the teenager's question. She had indeed kept some important documents in a private safe that even Richard didn't know about. It was a safe deposit box in a small bank, where she stored her parents' will and some crucial contracts from when she founded the company. "Emily, you're right. I have a safe deposit box in a small bank in Greenwich Village. Richard doesn't know about this account," Jennifer said, feeling hopeful for the first time. "But you'll need documents to access the box, won't you?" Michael pointed out. "They have my fingerprint and photo in the system. I can try," Jennifer replied, a spark of hope shining in her eyes. The next afternoon, Michael accompanied Jennifer to the bank in Greenwich Village. The manager, Mr. Edward Stevens, a 60-year-old man who had known Jennifer for over a decade, was shocked to see her in such a state. "Miss Jennifer, for heaven's sake, what happened to you?" Edward asked, noticing her simple clothes, the still visible bruises, and her unusual companion. "Edward, I really need to access my safe. I'm going through a very complicated situation with my husband," Jennifer explained briefly. Edward took her to the private safe, and Jennifer managed to retrieve crucial documents, certificates, company formation contracts, and most importantly, a will she had made years earlier, leaving everything to a charity if anything happened to her. "Jennifer, these documents prove your identity, but there's something here that worries me," Edward said, examining the papers. "I received a notification last week stating all your assets had been transferred to your husband's control due to temporary mental incapacity. That's false. I never signed anything like that," Jennifer exclaimed. "I have a copy of the power of attorney here. It has your signature and was notarized." Edward showed her the document. Jennifer examined the signature and froze. It looked very much like hers, but she was absolutely certain she had never signed it. "Edward, this signature was forged." "Richard must have paid someone to imitate my handwriting," Jennifer said, comparing it to her real signature on other documents. Michael, who had been silently observing everything, noticed subtle differences between the signatures that confirmed Jennifer's suspicion. "Ms. Jennifer, look here," Michael pointed to the signatures. "Your J always has this downward curve at the end, but on the power of attorney, it's different." Edward examined them more closely and agreed there were significant differences. As an experienced banker, he knew how to spot forgeries. "Jennifer, I'll be honest with you. This is a matter for the police. Document forgery is a serious crime," Edward said gravely. "But who's going to believe me against Richard? He's already convinced doctors I'm mentally unfit. He has the money and influence to sway anyone," Jennifer said, feeling despair creep back in. "These documents from the safe are important proof of your identity and mental capacity. You were lucid when you stored them here, and that was just 6 months ago," Edward explained. "Besides, I have records of all your transactions over the years. You've always been a very organized and rational person." Jennifer felt a momentary relief, but knew she still had a tough battle ahead. Richard had had months to build his version of events, while she was starting from scratch. When they returned to Michael's house, Emily was researching Jennifer's legal situation online. The teenager had found troubling information. "Mrs. Jennifer, I came across some articles about you in last week's business newspapers," Emily said, showing her phone. Jennifer read the articles with growing horror. Richard had given interviews claiming she was going through a delicate moment of mental health, and that he was temporarily handling the business to protect employees and investors. "He's building a public narrative that makes me look crazy, and him like a devoted husband," Jennifer said, realizing the extent of the manipulation. "But look at this, Mrs. Jennifer," Emily pointed to another article. "There's an employee from your company who gave a strange interview." The piece quoted Victoria Parker, executive secretary at Natural Beauty Cosmetics, saying she had noticed concerning changes in Mrs. Jennifer's behavior over the past few months, including frequent forgetfulness and irrational decisions. "Victoria, she's worked with me for 5 years. Why would she say these things?" Jennifer murmured, feeling betrayed. Michael, who had been watching carefully, began connecting the dots. "Mrs. Jennifer, do you think this Victoria might be involved with your husband?" he asked directly. Jennifer paused to think. Victoria was a beautiful 35-year-old woman, always elegant and efficient. Over the past few months, Richard had praised her work excessively, even suggesting Jennifer should give her more responsibilities. "Now that you mention it, Richard always spoke highly of Victoria, and she often stayed late at the office, even after hours," Jennifer said, the puzzle pieces starting to fall into place. Emily, with the sharpness of a young woman who grew up hearing stories of family betrayal, made a crucial observation. "Mrs. Jennifer, have you tried checking social media? Sometimes people leave clues without realizing it." Jennifer didn't have access to her own accounts, but Emily offered to investigate. What she found confirmed their suspicions. Several photos of Victoria at expensive restaurants and on international trips that didn't match a secretary's salary. "Look at this, Mrs. Jennifer. This woman was in Paris last month, staying at a hotel that costs more than 6 months of her salary." Emily showed the photos. Michael suggested Jennifer try contacting some long-time employees, people who knew her character and could vouch for her mental state. "There's Mr. Roger, my accountant for 8 years, and Mrs. Sharon, the production manager. They know me well and know I've never had mental health issues," Jennifer said. Using Michael's phone, Jennifer managed to reach Roger Adams, her trusted accountant. The conversation was revealing and disturbing. "Jennifer, it's so good to hear your voice. I was worried because Richard said you were hospitalized for psychiatric treatment," Roger said, relieved. "Roger, that's a lie. Richard drugged me and abandoned me. I'm mentally fine, but he forged documents to take control of my assets," Jennifer explained quickly. "Jennifer, I need to tell you something important. Last week, Richard came to me with a power of attorney, demanding full access to the company accounts. I found it odd because you always insisted on signing financial documents personally," Roger shared. "Did you give him access?" "I didn't, because I wanted to confirm with you first, but when I tried calling, a secretary said you were hospitalized and couldn't take calls. Richard got very angry when he realized I hadn't granted access." Jennifer felt relief knowing at least the company's main finances were still protected, but she worried about Richard's reaction to facing resistance to his plans. "Roger, Richard might try to force access in other ways. Can you block any transactions until I can legally prove my identity?" Jennifer asked. "I can and will do that today, but Jennifer, you need a lawyer urgently. What they're doing to you is criminal," Roger warned. After the call, Jennifer felt more hopeful, but also more worried. If Richard discovered she was alive and trying to regain control of her assets, he could become even more dangerous. Michael noticed her concern and made a surprising suggestion. "Ms. Miller, while you sort out this legal situation, how about working with me?" Michael asked. "I need help sorting recyclables. It's not much, but at least you'd have some income and stay busy." Jennifer was touched by the offer. For months, Richard had made her feel useless and incapable, saying she only embarrassed him in public. The idea of having a job, even a simple one, gave her a sense of dignity she'd lost. "Michael, I accept. I've never done this kind of work, but I'm willing to learn," Jennifer said with determination. Emily smiled at Jennifer's decision. The teenager had grown fond of the woman's presence in the house, which brought a different energy and a new perspective on life. The next day, Jennifer joined Michael on his recycling route for the first time. She wore simple clothes borrowed from Emily, her hair tied in a ponytail. Even without makeup and in basic attire, Michael thought she looked beautiful in a natural, authentic way. As they worked, Jennifer learned to separate different types of plastic, metal, and paper. It was physically tiring, but she felt an odd satisfaction in doing something productive with her own hands. "Michael, I never thought I'd enjoy manual labor, but there's something comforting about seeing the immediate results of your work," Jennifer remarked during a break. "That's what I always tell Emily. Honest work, no matter how simple, brings dignity," Michael replied. "And look, Ms. Miller, you've got a knack for this. You learn fast." During the route, they passed through some upscale neighborhoods in New York City, including the area where Jennifer had once lived. She had to resist looking toward her old mansion as they drove by. It was during one of these stops that something unexpected happened. An old neighbor of Jennifer's, Mrs. Margaret, a 70-year-old woman who had always been kind to her, recognized her despite her changed appearance. Jennifer Miller, is that you?" Mrs. Margaret asked, approaching the garbage truck with a shocked expression. Jennifer froze, unsure how to explain her situation to someone from her old social circle. "Mrs. Margaret, hi," she managed to say, embarrassed. "My dear, what happened to you?" "Richard told everyone you were hospitalized for severe depression," Mrs. Margaret said, glancing between Jennifer and Michael in confusion. "Mrs. Margaret," Richard lied, "he drugged me and abandoned me. Now I'm trying to rebuild my life." Jennifer decided to tell the truth, tired of lies. The older woman fell silent for a moment, processing the information. Then, to Jennifer's surprise, Mrs. Margaret showed support. "I always doubted that man. So arrogant, so obsessed with appearances. And lately, there's been a young woman showing up at your house often," Mrs. Margaret revealed. "A young woman?" Jennifer asked, her heart racing. "A pretty brunette, probably in her early 30s, always dressed well, arrives in an imported car. Just yesterday I saw her entering with Richard in the evening." Jennifer felt a mix of pain and confirmation of her suspicions. Richard had not only planned to get rid of her, but had already replaced her with Victoria, probably long ago. "Mrs. Margaret, could you do me a favor? If anyone asks, please don't mention that you saw me. It's still not safe for me if Richard knows where I am," Jennifer pleaded. "Of course, dear, and if you need anything, you know where to find me. I never liked the way he spoke about you when he thought no one was listening," Mrs. Margaret said, squeezing Jennifer's hand affectionately. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. The encounter with Mrs. Margaret left Jennifer shaken but also determined. Knowing that Richard and Victoria were openly living in her home while she was presumed hospitalized confirmed their plan was permanent. They never expected her to survive or recover. That night, at Michael's house, Jennifer made an important decision. "Michael, Emily, you've been more family to me in these few days than Richard was in all the years we were together," Jennifer said during their simple dinner. "I want to fight to reclaim what's mine, but not just for the material things. I want justice." "We'll help however we can, Mrs. Jennifer," Emily said firmly. "What you've been through isn't fair to anyone." Michael agreed with his daughter, but was worried about their limited resources against someone with Richard's power and influence. "Mrs. Jennifer, you have every right to seek justice, but we'll need to be very smart. Richard must have money to hire the best lawyers," Michael cautioned. "I have an idea. I'll reach out to attorney Amanda Brooks. She's a women's rights lawyer I met at a conference years ago. If anyone can help me, it's her," Jennifer said. The next morning, Jennifer called attorney Amanda Brooks's office. The lawyer, a 45-year-old woman known for taking on tough cases and fighting for women's rights, agreed to see her that same day. When Jennifer shared her full story with attorney Amanda, including the forged documents, the accountant's evidence, and the testimonies she'd gathered, the lawyer was outraged. "Jennifer, your case is a classic example of financial and psychological abuse. Richard used his power and society's fat phobia to isolate and destroy you," attorney Amanda explained. "But we have a good chance of turning this around." "Attorney, I need to be honest. Right now, I can't afford your fees. Richard has blocked everything, and I'm living off the kindness of friends," Jennifer admitted, embarrassed. "Jennifer, there are cases we take because they matter to all women. Yours is one of them. We'll work under the condition that you pay once you recover your assets," attorney Amanda offered. Jennifer felt a wave of relief and hope. Finally, she had a skilled professional by her side to handle the legal battle. Attorney Amanda got to work immediately. She requested an investigation into the authenticity of the power of attorney, froze all accounts tied to Jennifer's company, and filed a lawsuit against Richard for document forgery and domestic abuse. Meanwhile, Jennifer kept working with Michael on the recycling route. The physical labor helped keep her mind occupied and gave her a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in years. It was during one of these workdays that something unexpected happened. They were collecting recyclables at a commercial building when Jennifer recognized one of the trash bags. "Michael, wait, this bag has things from my house," Jennifer exclaimed, pointing to a bag containing clearly expensive personal items. When they opened the bag, they found several pieces of Jennifer's clothing, some still with tags, along with personal items like photo frames and small family mementos. "They're getting rid of your things," Michael observed. "This isn't normal. If you were really hospitalized, why would they throw your things away?" Jennifer picked up a photo frame showing her with her late parents. It was a picture from years ago, when she was still slimmer and happier. Seeing that precious memory tossed in the trash as if it meant nothing hurt her deeply. "They're erasing any trace that I ever existed in that house," Jennifer said, tears streaming down her face. Michael hugged Jennifer tenderly, feeling her pain as if it were his own. In that moment, something shifted between them. What had started as compassion for a stranger was turning into something deeper. "Jennifer, you exist. You matter. And I won't let them erase you," Michael said, looking straight into her eyes. Emily, who had learned what happened when they returned, suggested photographing all the found items as additional evidence for the legal case. "Dad, this proves they're lying about Mrs. Jennifer being hospitalized. Why would they throw her things away if she were coming back?" Emily argued wisely. The discovery of her personal belongings in the trash was a turning point for Jennifer. She realized Richard and Victoria weren't just trying to steal her assets, they were trying to erase her existence entirely, as if she had never mattered. That night, Jennifer made a decision that surprised Michael and Emily. "I want you both to know that even when I recover everything that's mine, I don't want to go back to that life," Jennifer announced during dinner. "These days with you have shown me what truly matters." "Mrs. Jennifer, you can't give up on your company. There are employees who depend on it," Emily argued wisely. "I'm not giving up the business, Emily, but I want to do things differently. I want to use my company to help people like us, and I want you both to be part of it," Jennifer explained, looking affectionately at Michael and Emily. Michael felt his heart race. The idea of being part of Jennifer's plans excited him, but also scared him. He had grown used to his simple, predictable life, free of big expectations or risks. "Jennifer, I don't know anything about businesses. I'm just a garbage man," Michael said humbly. "Michael, you have something many business people lack: honesty, hard work, and a good heart. Those qualities are worth more than any degree," Jennifer replied, gently touching his hand. Emily watched the interaction between her father and Jennifer with a smile. She could see something special blooming between them, something built on mutual respect and shared experiences. A few days later, attorney Amanda called with important news about the case. "Jennifer, we've won our first victory. The judge ordered an immediate freeze on all your company's financial transactions until the power of attorney issue is resolved," attorney Amanda informed. "Also, the handwriting analysis confirmed your signature was forged." Jennifer felt a wave of relief and hope. There was finally concrete evidence she was telling the truth. "And there's more. Richard came to my office today offering a settlement. This shows he's afraid the case will go to court," attorney Amanda continued. "What kind of settlement?" Jennifer asked. "He's offering to return some assets in exchange for you dropping the criminal charges. It's an indirect admission of guilt," attorney Amanda explained. Jennifer didn't hesitate for a second. "Reject the settlement. I want him to pay for everything he's done, not just to me, but to all the women who might go through the same situation." Richard's refusal of the settlement marked the beginning of a more intense legal battle. Richard hired a team of expensive lawyers and launched a campaign to publicly discredit Jennifer. Articles began appearing in newspapers, questioning Jennifer's mental stability and painting Richard as a devoted husband trying to protect the company from his wife's irrational outbursts. It was a difficult time for Jennifer, who watched her reputation being publicly torn apart. But she had something she didn't before: a family who believed in her and supported her unconditionally. Michael became her greatest pillar of strength. Every night after work, he listened as Jennifer vented about the challenges of the case, comforting her with his calm presence and words of encouragement. "Jennifer, remember what you told me on the first day? That I helped you because I saw in your eyes that you were a good person," Michael said one evening. "Well, I still see that same good person. The newspapers can write whatever they want. It doesn't change who you really are." Emily also became a crucial ally, using her tech skills to monitor social media and gather evidence in Jennifer's favor. "Mrs. Miller, I found something interesting," Emily announced one afternoon, showing her phone. "Victoria posted photos of a trip to Europe last month, but deleted them later. I managed to save them before they were gone." The photos showed Victoria in Paris, wearing expensive designer clothes and dining at luxurious restaurants. But the most important detail was one photo where she wore a necklace Jennifer recognized immediately. "That necklace belonged to my mother. It was in my private safe in the bedroom," Jennifer exclaimed. "How did she get it?" This evidence suggested Victoria had access to Jennifer's home much earlier than Richard had admitted, strengthening the theory that they had been planning the scheme for months. Dr. Amanda Brooks used this evidence to request a search warrant for Jennifer's home, now occupied by Richard and Victoria. During the search, they found several of Jennifer's personal items that should have been secure if she had truly been hospitalized. The most critical discovery was an envelope hidden in Richard's office containing drafts of falsified documents and notes about doctors willing to sign questionable evaluations in exchange for payment. "Jennifer, we found evidence that Richard bribed the doctors who certified your mental incapacity," Dr. Brooks reported during a meeting at the office. Dr. Gregory Phillips and Dr. Bethany Nelson received substantial payments from Richard in the weeks leading up to their evaluations. Jennifer felt a mix of outrage and relief. Outrage at the depth of corruption involved in her downfall, and relief at having concrete proof of the conspiracy against her. The case gained media attention when details of the conspiracy came to light. Public opinion shifted, and Jennifer went from villain to victim. Several women began speaking out, sharing similar stories of financial abuse. It was during this time that Jennifer realized her feelings for Michael had grown into something much deeper than gratitude. She was falling in love with the kind man who had saved her, not just physically, but emotionally. "Michael, I need to tell you something," Jennifer said one night when they were alone in the small living room. "Go ahead, Jennifer," Michael replied, noticing the seriousness in her tone. "I'm falling in love with you," Jennifer confessed, her heart racing. "I know our situation is complicated. I know we come from different worlds, but my feelings are real." Michael fell silent for a moment, processing her words. He had also developed deep feelings for Jennifer, but he was afraid it might just be temporary gratitude on her part. "Jennifer, I feel something special for you too, but I'm afraid that once your life goes back to normal, you'll realize how different we are." Michael admitted his insecurities. "Michael, my life will never go back to normal because I've learned that normality was a prison," Jennifer said, holding his hands. "You've shown me what true love is, unconditional, without judgment. That's what I want for my life." Emily, who had overheard the conversation from the kitchen, smiled to herself. She had already noticed the love growing between her father and Jennifer and fully approved. Jennifer had brought happiness back into her father's life in a way she hadn't seen in years. A few weeks later, Jennifer's case finally went to trial. The courtroom was packed with journalists and onlookers, but Jennifer walked in with her head held high, accompanied by Michael, Emily, and Dr. Amanda. Richard appeared with his team of expensive lawyers, trying to maintain the facade of a respectable businessman, but the evidence against him was overwhelming. During the trial, it was proven that Richard had forged Jennifer's signature, bribed doctors to falsely certify her as mentally unfit, and conspired with Victoria to steal his wife's assets. The most moving testimony came from Jennifer herself, who told her story with dignity and strength, describing not just the crimes committed against her, but also how she had found true love and family in the most unlikely people. "Your Honor, Richard didn't just try to steal my material possessions. He tried to steal my dignity, my sanity, my very existence," Jennifer declared in her testimony. "But he failed because I've learned that my worth as a person isn't in the money I have, but in the love I can give and receive." Michael watched Jennifer's testimony with pride and admiration. Seeing the woman he had found broken in the trash, transformed into a strong, eloquent warrior, filled him with emotion. The verdict was unanimous. Richard was convicted of forgery, fraud, and financial domestic abuse. Victoria was also convicted as an accomplice. All of Jennifer's assets were returned, along with compensation for emotional damages. After the trial, Jennifer made decisions that surprised everyone. Instead of returning to her mansion in the upscale neighborhood, she sold the property and bought a smaller home in the same area where Michael lived. "I want to stay close to my real family," Jennifer explained to Emily, who was moved by the decision. Jennifer also transformed her company into a social enterprise, focused on employing vulnerable individuals and investing in recycling and sustainability programs. Michael became the operations director, using his experience with waste collection to create innovative initiatives. The company thrived under the new management, proving that ethical and profitable business could coexist. Emily received a full scholarship to university, sponsored by Jennifer's company, and began working as an intern while studying. 6 months after the trial, Michael mustered the courage to make the proposal he'd been rehearsing for weeks. "Jennifer, these months by your side have been the happiest of my life," Michael said, kneeling in the living room of their new home with Emily watching tearfully. "Will you marry me?" Jennifer burst into tears, remembering how her life had completely changed since the day she woke up in the trash. "Yes, Michael. 1,000 times yes," Jennifer replied, hugging him tightly. The wedding took place 3 months later, a simple but emotional ceremony at the neighborhood church. Jennifer made a point of wearing the same beige blazer she had on the day Michael found her, now washed and lovingly mended by Emily. "Why wear this outfit, Ms. Jennifer?" Emily had asked during the preparations. "Because it was in this outfit that my new life began. It's how the love of my life first saw me," Jennifer explained, adjusting the blazer with pride. The church was filled with employees from the company, neighbors from the area, and people who had followed Jennifer's story in the media. Mrs. Margaret, the neighbor who had helped Jennifer during the investigations, sat in the front row, moved to see the happy ending of that story. During the ceremony, Jennifer and Michael exchanged vows they had written themselves. "Michael, you found me when I was lost, took me in when I had nothing, and loved me when I thought I didn't deserve love," Jennifer declared, tears streaming down her face. "I promise to be your partner in all of life's adventures and to honor the pure love you taught me to value. Jennifer, you changed my life in ways I couldn't have imagined. You showed me that true love doesn't care about social class, appearance, or the past," Michael replied, deeply moved. "I promise to protect your heart as you've protected mine, and to build a family with you based on respect and care." Emily cried with emotion seeing her father so happy. She had gained not just a stepmother, but a loving mother who supported and encouraged all her dreams. The reception was held in the community hall of the neighborhood, decorated with simple yet beautiful flowers. Jennifer had insisted on keeping it accessible so all their friends could attend, including employees from the company and neighbors who had become like family. During the celebration, Roger, the accountant who had helped Jennifer during her crisis, gave a heartfelt speech. "Jennifer, when you called me asking for help that day, you were financially broken, but not in spirit. Today, I see you haven't just recovered your wealth. You've gained something far more valuable. A true family," Roger said, raising his glass for a toast. Jennifer's company thrived even more after the wedding. With Michael as a partner, they developed innovative recycling programs that gained national recognition. The company employed hundreds of people, many in vulnerable situations similar to what Jennifer had once faced. Emily graduated with honors in business administration and officially joined the company, bringing fresh ideas about sustainability and social responsibility. She specialized in support programs for domestic violence survivors, a passion that grew after witnessing Jennifer's struggles. 2 years after the wedding, Jennifer and Michael decided to expand their family by adopting 2 children, Nathan, 8, and Olivia, 5, siblings who had lost their parents and needed a loving home. "We want to give other children the same love and opportunities I found in this family," Jennifer explained during the adoption process. The house, which had once been home to just Michael and Emily, now held a large and happy family. Nathan and Olivia adjusted quickly, especially with Emily's loving guidance as the perfect big sister. Jennifer never forgot where she came from or how her life had changed. She founded an organization providing temporary shelter and legal support for women affected by domestic and financial abuse. Every woman deserves a second chance to find her true identity and worth, Jennifer often said in speeches about her experience. Michael developed a professional training program for recycling workers, offering courses in entrepreneurship and management. Many former garbage collectors became successful small business owners through the program. Richard served his time in prison and, upon release, repeatedly tried to reach out to Jennifer to ask for forgiveness and a second chance. She always refused to meet with him, not out of bitterness, but because she had learned to protect her peace and happiness. Victoria, after serving her shorter sentence as an accomplice, moved to another state and never attempted contact again. A few years later, Jennifer heard through others that Victoria had completely turned her life around, working at a small business and living modestly. "I hope she learned from her mistakes and found an honest way to live," Jennifer remarked when she heard the news, showing the generosity of spirit that Michael had always admired in her. The company Natural Beauty Cosmetics became a national benchmark for social responsibility and sustainability. Jennifer was invited to give talks at universities and business events, always accompanied by Michael, who became a respected speaker on social inclusion and opportunities for low-income workers. Emily married at 25 to a college classmate she met during a community outreach project. Jennifer and Michael were moved to see their daughter building her own family based on the same values of love and respect they had nurtured. On the day Emily graduated from college, she made sure to mention Jennifer and Michael in her speech as the class speaker. "My father always taught me that honest work dignifies anyone. My stepmother taught me that our strength comes from how we rise after falling. Together, they showed me that family isn't about blood, but about unconditional love," Emily declared, leaving Jennifer and Michael emotional in the audience. Nathan and Olivia grew up in a family full of love and opportunities. Nathan developed an interest in environmental engineering, inspired by the family's recycling work, while Olivia showed talent for arts and design, helping create the company's advertising campaigns. One Sunday afternoon, 5 years after their marriage, Jennifer was in the backyard organizing Nathan's birthday party when she paused to watch her family. Michael was teaching Olivia to ride a bike, Emily was helping with decorations alongside her husband, and Nathan was setting up games for the friends who would soon arrive. "What are you smiling about?" Michael asked, walking over to Jennifer, who was grinning to herself. "I was thinking that if someone had told me 5 years ago I'd be happier living in a simple house than a mansion, I wouldn't have believed it," Jennifer replied, hugging her husband. "But here, I'm truly loved for who I am, not what I own. And you taught us that true love doesn't depend on bank accounts or social status," Michael said, kissing Jennifer's forehead. "You saved our family just as much as we saved you." During Nathan's party, Jennifer received an unexpected call. It was a journalist wanting to do a special feature on her story to mark the 5 years since Richard's trial. "Mrs. Jennifer, your story has inspired many women to report domestic and financial abuse. Would you be willing to give an interview?" the journalist asked. Jennifer looked at her family gathered in the yard, the children playing, friends chatting, everyone happy and safe. She thought of all the women who might still be going through what she had endured. "Yes, I'll do it, but I want the article to make it clear that true wealth isn't in the money I recovered, but in the family I found," Jennifer answered. The interview was published in the country's most prominent magazine, featuring a photo of Jennifer, Michael, and the children in their backyard. The article was titled, "From Trash to Love: How a Businesswoman Discovered the True Value of Life." The piece generated hundreds of letters from women thanking Jennifer for sharing her story and inspiring them to seek help or value relationships based on true love. One of the letters that touched Jennifer the most was from a 22-year-old woman who had broken off an engagement with a wealthy but abusive man after reading her story. "Mrs. Miller, your story made me realize I'd rather be poor and happy than rich and mistreated. Thank you for showing me that true love exists," the young woman wrote. Jennifer kept that letter in a special box, along with other important mementos from her new life. Among them was the first family photo they'd taken, the wedding invitation made by Emily, and the beige blazer she'd worn on the day everything changed. "Why do you still keep these old clothes?" Nathan asked one day when he found the blazer in the memory box. Because it reminds me that sometimes we need to be broken to discover our true strength, Jennifer explained tenderly, and that the hardest moments can be the beginning of life's greatest blessings. Olivia, ever curious, asked if Jennifer missed being rich like before. Olivia, I'm still rich. Only now, my wealth is in things no one can steal. Your father's love, your affection, true friendship, the satisfaction of helping others, Jennifer explained. That's a far more valuable kind of wealth. On the 10th anniversary of the company under new management, Jennifer and Michael organized a big celebration for employees and partners. During the event, they announced the creation of a new project, a shelter for women victims of domestic violence that would offer not just refuge, but also job training and psychological support. This center represents everything we've learned about starting over and finding strength in unity, Jennifer declared in her speech. No woman should go through what I did alone. Michael finished his wife's speech, and no one should be judged by their background or appearance. Everyone deserves a chance to show their true worth. The center opened a year later in a modern yet welcoming building with space to house 50 women and their children. Emily was named project coordinator, fulfilling her personal dream of working directly with social causes. During the inauguration, several women who had been helped by Jennifer's foundation were present, many now rebuilt and independent. One of them, Tiffany, approached Jennifer during the event. Mrs. Miller, when I arrived here 2 years ago, I was exactly where you were that day in the trash, with nothing, no hope. Today I have my own home and work for a company partnered with the foundation, Tiffany shared, emotional. Tiffany, you always had strength inside you. We just gave you the tools to let it shine, Jennifer replied, hugging the young woman. These stories of resilience became common in Jennifer and Michael's lives. Every month, they received news of people who had rebuilt their lives through the company's and foundation's programs. Nathan, now 13, wrote a school essay about real-life heroes, choosing Jennifer and Michael as his subjects. My parents taught me that being a hero isn't about having superpowers, but having the courage to help others, even when you're struggling yourself, Nathan wrote. They saved each other and then saved so many others. The essay won first place in a national competition, filling the family with pride. Olivia, at 10 years old, developed a school project on recycling that caught the attention of city officials. Inspired by her parents' work, she created an environmental awareness program for children that was implemented in several schools across the city. Daddy Michael taught me that trash can turn into something useful, just like he and Mommy Jennifer turned something ugly into a beautiful story, Olivia explained during the project presentation, leaving everyone moved by her innocence and wisdom. Emily, now graduated and married, became pregnant with her first child. Jennifer was overwhelmed with emotion when she learned she would be a grandmother, feeling the circle of her new life was perfectly coming together. Jennifer, I want you to be the baby's godmother, Emily asked during a family lunch. You're the mother of my heart, and I want you to be the grandmother of my heart too. Jennifer cried with emotion as she accepted the invitation. The idea of seeing her family grow and thrive was more rewarding than any business success she had achieved in the past. During Emily's pregnancy, Jennifer reduced her workload at the company to dedicate more time to her family. Michael took on more responsibilities in the business, proving he had developed excellent management skills over the years. Are you proud of me? Michael asked one night after a particularly successful meeting with investors. Michael, I've been proud of you since day one, when you had the courage to help a stranger you found in the trash, Jennifer replied, kissing him tenderly. Everything you've become since then just confirms the wonderful man you've always been. Jennifer and Michael's grandson was born on a sunny spring morning. The boy, named Jacob in honor of Emily's late maternal grandfather, who had passed away years earlier, brought even more joy to the family. Jennifer held the baby in her arms for the first time with tears in her eyes, remembering when she had lost her own child years ago. Now she finally had the chance to be a grandmother and be part of a new generation's growth. Welcome to our crazy family, Jacob, Jennifer whispered to the baby. You'll grow up knowing you're loved no matter what. Michael was deeply moved seeing Jennifer with their grandson. He knew this moment represented the complete healing of her past wounds. The company continued growing and expanding to other states, always maintaining the same values of social responsibility and inclusion. Jennifer and Michael were invited to give talks in other countries about sustainable and inclusive business models. During one of these trips, for a conference in Canada, they visited a project similar to theirs that had been inspired by their story. "It's amazing how a personal tragedy can turn into inspiration for so many people," Jennifer remarked as they toured the Canadian project. "That happens when someone chooses to turn their pain into purpose," Michael replied. "You could have grown bitter from everything you went through, but you chose to use your experience to help others." Back in the United States, Jennifer and Michael decided to write a book telling their complete story. The book, titled Love in the Trash: How We Found the True Value of Life, became a national bestseller. The royalties were donated entirely to their foundation, ensuring the sustainability of their social projects for many years. During the book launch in New York City, the bookstore was packed. People of all ages and backgrounds came to hear Jennifer and Michael share their story in person. "You gave me hope when I thought there was nothing left to live for," said a 70-year-old woman during the Q&A session. "My husband left me after 40 years of marriage, and I felt like trash. But you showed me it's always possible to start over." "Ma'am, age doesn't matter when the heart is willing to love again," Jennifer replied. "And remember, you're not trash, you're a treasure waiting to be discovered by the right person." Nathan and Olivia, now teenagers, felt proud seeing their parents recognized as examples of resilience and true love. They had grown up in a family that valued character above all material things. "Dad, do you ever regret helping Mom Jennifer that day?" Nathan asked one day, curious about his father's feelings. "Nathan, that was the best day of my life, even if I didn't know it at the time," Michael replied sincerely. "Saving your mother was my greatest luck, not hers." "And Mom Jennifer, do you miss the wealthy life you had before?" Olivia asked with typical teenage curiosity. "Olivia, I was rich in money but poor in love. Now I'm rich in love, and that makes all the difference," Jennifer explained. "I'd take our laughter-filled home over an empty mansion any day." The years passed, and the family continued to thrive. Emily had 2 more children, giving Jennifer and Michael 3 grandchildren to love and spoil. Nathan graduated in environmental engineering and began working at the company, developing innovative recycling technologies. Olivia pursued an artistic career, using her talent to create social awareness campaigns. Jennifer and Michael grew old together, maintaining the love and bond that had formed during the hardest moments of their lives. They continued working together at the company and the foundation until retiring at 65. At their retirement party, held in the same community hall where they'd married 20 years earlier, hundreds came to celebrate with them. Employees, foundation beneficiaries, and neighborhood friends all wanted to thank them for the difference Jennifer and Michael had made in their lives. "When I was thrown in the trash, I thought my life was over," Jennifer said in her speech. "But in truth, it was just beginning. I learned that no matter how many times life knocks us down, we can always get back up if we have love to hold us." Michael added, "And I learned that true love doesn't choose social class, appearance, or past. It simply happens when 2 people decide to care for each other." After retiring, Jennifer and Michael devoted themselves fully to their grandchildren and the foundation's volunteer work. They traveled across the country, visiting social projects inspired by their story and offering guidance to organizations helping vulnerable women. During one trip to the South, Jennifer received an unexpected tribute. A 40-year-old woman approached her after a talk. "Mrs. Jennifer, my name is Christina. 10 years ago, you saved my life without even knowing it," the woman said emotionally. "How so, Christina?" Jennifer asked, intrigued. "I was in a situation like yours, abandoned by my husband who took everything. I saw your interview on TV, and it gave me the strength to fight. Now I have my own business and help other women," Christina explained, hugging Jennifer. Stories like Christina's became common in Jennifer and Michael's lives. They discovered their story had inspired thousands across the country not to give up on their dreams and to believe in true love. One Sunday morning, 10 years after retiring, Jennifer woke beside Michael and watched him sleep peacefully. At 75, he was still the kind, brave man who had found her on that terrible day and transformed her life. "Good morning," Love of my life, Michael said, opening his eyes to find Jennifer watching him. Good morning, my hero, Jennifer replied, kissing him softly. They got up and went to the porch for coffee, as they had every morning for decades. The house was quiet as the grandchildren had slept at their parents' house the night before. Michael, if you could go back in time, would you change anything in our story? Jennifer asked, gazing at the garden they had cultivated together over the years. I'd change just one thing, Michael replied thoughtfully. What? Jennifer asked, curious. I would have asked you to marry me sooner, Michael said, smiling and making Jennifer laugh. Silly, you asked at the right time. Our story happened exactly as it was meant to, Jennifer said, holding his hand. That afternoon, the whole family came over for their traditional Sunday lunch. Emily arrived with her 3 kids. Nathan came with his wife and young daughter, and Olivia brought her new boyfriend to introduce to the family. Grandma Jennifer, tell us again how you and Grandpa Michael met, Jacob asked, now 15 and in love with his grandparents' love story. Again, sweetheart. You already know this story by heart, Jennifer laughed. But I love hearing it. It's the best love story I know, Jacob insisted, making everyone smile. Jennifer looked at Michael, who nodded with a knowing smile. They never tired of telling their story, especially to the younger generations. Well, it all started one morning when your grandpa was working and found a very sad woman thrown in the trash, Jennifer began, as everyone settled in to hear the story for the 100th time. But this time, as she told it, Jennifer noticed something new in Michael's expression. Even after all these years, he still looked at her with the same love and admiration as on the first day. And they lived happily ever after, Jennifer finished the story, as she always did. No, Grandma. They are living happily ever after, corrected their youngest granddaughter, just 5 years old, making everyone laugh. You're right, sweetheart. We are living happily ever after, Jennifer agreed, looking around the table at all the people she loved. That night, after everyone had left, Jennifer and Michael sat on the living room couch, the same couch where she had slept on her first night in his house decades ago. Jennifer, thank you, Michael said out of nowhere. Thank you for what? Jennifer asked, surprised. For letting me save you, for turning my life into a wonderful adventure, for giving me such a beautiful family, Michael listed, emotional. Michael, you saved my life, not the other way around, Jennifer protested. We saved each other, Michael corrected, and we saved our family, our business, our community. We did things together that we never could have done alone. Jennifer nodded, resting her head on her husband's shoulder. They sat in silence for a few minutes, simply enjoying the peace and happiness they had built together. Michael, do you know what I'm most proud of in our story? Jennifer said, breaking the silence. What? Michael asked. That our story proves true love exists, that good people are still out there, and that it's never too late to start over, Jennifer explained. How many people have we inspired over the years? Thousands, Michael answered, and every one of them has carried our message forward, that a person's worth isn't in what they have, but in who they are. The following week, Jennifer and Michael received a special invitation. The university where Emily had studied wanted to award them honorary doctorate degrees for their service to society. Dr. Michael Johnson, Jennifer teased over breakfast. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Dr. Jennifer Johnson, Michael replied, making her laugh. She had taken his last name after marriage and never regretted it. The graduation ceremony was moving. Jennifer and Michael received their degrees alongside other honorees, but they were the only ones who received a standing ovation from the entire audience. During her acceptance speech, Jennifer spoke about the importance of education and second chances. When I woke up in the trash 25 years ago, I never imagined I'd one day be here receiving an honorary doctorate, Jennifer said, drawing laughter from the audience. But life has taught me that true education comes from the experiences we live and the people we meet along the way. Michael added, and it taught me never to underestimate anyone's potential. Everyone deserves a chance to prove their worth. After the ceremony, a young student approached them. Dr. Johnson, Dr. Miller, you inspired me to choose my field of study. I'm specializing in corporate social responsibility, the young man said excitedly. That's wonderful, son. "The world needs more people like you," Michael replied, proud to see their story still inspiring younger generations. A few months later, Jennifer began experiencing age-related health issues. Nothing serious, but enough for her and Michael to reconsider their priorities. "Michael, I want you to know I have no regrets in life," Jennifer said one evening after returning from a routine checkup. "Jennifer, don't talk like that. You still have many years ahead," Michael protested, worried by his wife's melancholic tone. "I'm not being dramatic, my love, just grateful. I've lived more happiness in these 25 years with you than many people do in a lifetime," Jennifer explained, gently touching his face. "And we'll live many more," Michael insisted, kissing her hand. Jennifer smiled in agreement. They still had plans for the future, watching their grandchildren grow, continuing to help others through their foundation, traveling to places they hadn't yet seen. That Christmas, their home was fuller than ever. Besides their immediate family, several children of the heart, people they'd helped over the years, came to celebrate with them. "This is true wealth," Jennifer whispered to Michael as they looked around the house filled with happy, grateful faces. "The only wealth that matters," Michael agreed, holding her close. Tiffany, the woman Jennifer had helped years earlier through their foundation, brought her family to meet their godparents, as she called Jennifer and Michael. "Dr. Miller, Dr. Johnson, I want you to meet my husband and children," Tiffany said proudly. "They exist because you gave me a second chance at life." "Tiffany, you achieved all this through your own strength. We just provided the tools," Jennifer replied humbly. "But without the tools, I couldn't have built anything," Tiffany insisted, hugging Jennifer tearfully. During Christmas dinner, Emily gave a special speech to her parents. "Dad, Jennifer, you taught me that family isn't about blood, but about choice," Emily said emotionally. "You chose to love each other, chose to love us, and chose to turn your pain into strength to help others. Thank you for every choice you made." Nathan and Olivia joined their sister's tribute, thanking them for raising them in a family that valued love above material things. "You taught us that being rich isn't about having money, but about having love," Nathan said. "And that heroes don't have superpowers, they just have the courage to help," Olivia added. Jennifer and Michael were moved by their children's words. Seeing they'd passed on their values to the next generation was more rewarding than any public recognition. That night before bed, Jennifer opened her memory box where she kept the beige blazer and other treasures from her journey. "You still have that outfit?" Michael asked, watching her handle the blazer tenderly. "It's my most precious keepsake," Jennifer replied. "It represents the day my real life began." "Our real life," Michael corrected, hugging her from behind. "Our real life," Jennifer agreed, leaning against her husband's chest. They stayed like that for a few minutes, silent, remembering the incredible journey they had shared. From trash to love, from despair to complete happiness, from loneliness to a big, loving family. "Michael, if I die first, I want you to be happy," Jennifer said softly. "Jennifer, why are you saying that?" Michael asked, concerned. "Because I want you to know I feel complete. I've lived everything a person could dream of. True love, family, purpose, recognition, the chance to help others. If my life ended tomorrow, it would be a full life," Jennifer explained. "Mine would be full too, but I'd rather it continue for many more years," Michael said, kissing the top of her head. "I'd rather that too," Jennifer agreed, smiling. "We still have grandchildren to spoil and people to help." End of story. What did you think of this love story of triumph? Jennifer and Michael proved that true love doesn't care about social class or appearance, but values and character. Tell us in the comments which part moved you the most, and if you believe there are still people like Michael in the world. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories.